Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the KBFA podcast. Glad to have you joining us. And today we have a special guest. But before we get into this special guest, I am going to introduce myself. I am Lonnie Hobbs Jr., one of the co hosts for the KBFA podcast. My co host, Mr. Justin Howard, was unable to join us today. Had a few things going on, so we do want to keep Justin in our thoughts, sending him positive vibes and good love, but we will keep this show rolling. So today, joining me, I have a very good man here, Mr. Jared Jacobs from Cargill. So, Jared, if you can, share with our viewers who you are, and let's begin with your story.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Lonnie. Glad to speak with you here today. I'm Jared Jacobs. I'm the Conservation Agronomy Manager for Cargill's Region Connect program. I live just south of Kansas City on the Missouri-Kansas state line in a town called Drexel, Missouri. So if you guys are familiar with Lewisburg and Paola, Kansas, I live just east of them across the state line. Born and raised here on the family farm and live here now with my wife and two kids. We've got between my dad and me, we've got some hogs and some row crop and some cattle that keep us busy. Not our full-time job, but something to come home and do at night for sure. I've always been involved in production, agriculture, and working with growers. I went to school down at Missouri State University and got a degree in agriculture. And then from there, I've farmed some and ran some grain facilities. And currently, I've been with Cargill as the agronomy manager, conservation agronomy manager for about a year and a half. So.
All right. Thank you for that, Jared. So tell us, you are agronomy manager for Cargill. Can you give us a brief overview of Cargill as a company?
Yeah, that's a big task to do to talk about Cargill as a company. So if you look at Cargill, we're in our 155th year of operation. So 155 years ago, Cargill started as a single grain facility, storage facility in rural Iowa. And then if you fast forward today, we operate in about 70 countries, employ around 155,000 people worldwide. Most in Kansas, they're going to know us for our grain, our beef protein side, and then our feed division we have. But we play a role in many of the food ingredients and foods people purchase across the world every day.
And we have a lot of work that we do both as Kansas Black Farmers Association with Cargill, as well as here in the state of Kansas and more specifically at Kansas State University. So Cargill has been a big player in the ag space and one of our most proud partners. I do thank you for that, Jared. You mentioned you are a conservation agronomist manager within Cargill. What does that role entail?
Yeah, so as conservation agronomy manager for our Region Connect program, I manage the team of agronomists for our Region Connect program, which is our environmental outcomes program. So currently we have 4 dedicated agronomists to the team. We reside in Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, and then myself in Missouri. So what we do is we work to give agronomic advice to growers that take part in our program, helping them transition into implementing a reduced tillage program, working to implement a cover crop in their rotation. Some of the stuff I do with the states that I cover as well is work to integrate livestock, which we're trying to integrate cover crops that help with grazing. Just really working with growers to start that sustainable agriculture journey into their operation.
Oh man, that is a lot. That is a lot. So let's take a step back also. You talked briefly with your story and how you've transitioned through the ag space into the current role. We see you've held many impactful roles during your career. How do you see that those roles and your journey has helped you succeed in the current role as conservation agronomist?
One thing I've always strived for and prided myself in jobs that I've taken or roles that I've had is making sure that we always keep the farmer first. When we, as an agronomy, giving agronomic advice, making sure that what we're doing is making the right recommendation for the grower's operation, for the grower's goals, financially for the grower, making sure those implements, those inputs that we recommend are doing the right thing for the grower. And that's where I continue with this now is making sure that we're always putting the grower first. And as we work on some of these transitions and new practices that these growers are implementing, making sure that it fits their operation long term.
Definitely. And that's good to hear from a industry perspective. That's what we try to do here at Kansas Black Farmers Association as well. That's actually why we were created, is to make sure that the growers are first. Make sure that the farmers are the one that is not only getting and receiving the services and the resources, but also are put in a position to where they can succeed. And there are many different things that's happened, of course, throughout the history of agriculture that has reduced the amount of funds that farmers are receiving now for their products, but also that has caused problems as we look into sustainability and their ability to increase their production throughout the future. And from there, I want to take a step back because we hear this concept all the time within the agriculture space. And that concept is climate change and soil health. And that's one of the things that we're seeing that our farmers have struggled with over the past year in understanding the importance and understanding how they should implement some of these practices that can help them to achieve sustainability over time. Also, understanding how they can adjust their operations and utilize some of the technologies that's being created to help them to be more successful as it relates to climate change and soil health. So, in recent years, we've heard this term climate change, soil health, and more specifically, sustainability and sustainable agriculture practices a lot. So, as an agronomist in your current role, what is sustainability in ag, and what does it mean for the farmers to implement these sustainable ag practices?
Yeah, so I think depending on who you ask that question to, you get some differing views. I think they're all encompassing the same idea, the same end goal, but sometimes the steps they go to that may be a little different. But when I look at sustainable ag and building soil health, what we're really doing is we're working to build, we want that soil health, we want healthy soil, we want resilient soil. If you look at part of the territory I cover, so I also cover 4 states. I cover Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado. And if you look at the last year in those 4 states, resiliency has been something that we've needed and I have
Yeah,
struggled with even if we were set up for that, just with the lack of rainfall that we've had. I know right here at home right now, I was trying to find the number this morning and I didn't have any luck, but we're going on a month and a half without any rain, and that's been pretty rough. And that's still a drop in the bucket for what some of the guys in western Kansas. I know
yeah,
Waukene area, we have an elevator out there, and I know last year they were going on almost a year. There was places that they hadn't had over a quarter-inch rainfall. And those are issues that we're always going to struggle with, but there's some ways that with these practices we can help that soil withstand some of those effects, be a little more resilient through that. If we can build some organic matter in that soil to hold some water when we get it, if we can reduce some of our tillage to build soil structure, to build pore space, to help with rainfall infiltration. So when we do get those rainfalls, if they're few and far between, we're making sure we're getting that water in the soil, that we're
yeah,
keeping it there. And then one that I've always liked that kind of it's the new thing we're looking at, and honestly, I don't think that most of us have a grasp on what it is. It's the soil biology. So we look at how cover crops, no-till, soil structure improvements infect how they in turn affect the biology in the soil. That leads to lots of stuff. That leads to stronger plants, healthier plants. That helps our residue break down faster. There's a lot of things, like I said, that I don't even think we've seen what we can gain from that, and we will as time goes on and we continue to build this sustainable ag, these healthier soils on our larger scale.
definitely, definitely. Let's talk because I know and I've seen that Cargill takes a stance in helping in terms of sustainability. So let's talk Cargill programs and resources. What are some of the programs and resources offered for farmers by Cargill to help with some of these issues?
Mhm. So, from what I work with the Cargill Region Connect program. And our Region Connect program is an environmental outcomes program where we work with growers to implement reducing tillage, implementing cover crops that then we can monitor and calculate the amount of carbon that's been sequestered from those practices. We work with a company called Regrow that does the modeling and the verification of those carbon credits and that sequestration that happens in season. And from there, we're able to pay growers from that outcome that they've had from that practice change. And that's something that's been really beneficial. It's a new market that we've been able to develop for growers as we have downstream customers that need these credits for their Scope 3 emission goals. Region Connect has also taken another step as well too in our cotton division, where we have companies that demand cotton that has been produced with cover crop and reduced till or no-till practices. With the way cotton's traced in the industry today, with the way that is tagged to the field that it's produced in, we're able to verify that cotton was produced in a field that was cover cropped and no-till to reduced tilled, and then send that directly to downstream customers that want that cotton and offer a premium for those practices being implemented on the field. A couple different approaches there that we have right now on the sustainability environmental outcomes programs, and we just expect those to grow and diversify as we continue down the path of this.
You mentioned the Region Connect program. That seems like a great opportunity for farmers to contribute to the ag sustainability movement. Can you talk more about the market access aspect that you briefly mentioned and how you actually connect the farmers with the market?
Yeah, Cargill prides ourselves and we're the connection for the grower to the marketplace. We have the relationships with the companies downstream. You name them, we probably work with them on the food side. Most of these companies, and Cargill included, we all have Scope 3 emission reduction goals that we have to achieve, where we've, through the Paris Climate Accord and just internal goals for emission reductions, we have goals that we need to set and achieve. Most of them are by 2030. And companies are doing what they can do internally through their own emissions on their facilities, through their internal fleet vehicles, things like that. But these carbon credits and these other environmental outcomes are a great way to apply that to their internal supply chain reductions. Being that we are Cargill and we're working directly with the farmer, we have an opportunity where we can produce a credit that is an inset credit. So it is
Mhm.
tied to the same supply chain from start to finish for these downstream companies that are using these credits. So it's something that sets us apart from some other companies where they may just be broad-based, not actually handling the commodity, but being that Cargill is involved from the field, from the farm to the processing to the end user, we have a unique market that we've been able to develop.
Oh man, that is awesome, man. That is awesome to hear. I want to talk briefly about another program that you have, Jared. We at KBFA are very familiar with this program. It is the Success from the Ground Up grant. KBFA is a proud recipient of this grant where Cargill provided funds for us to actually increase the education in terms of regenerative ag and sustainability for our farmers. We have been able to utilize that to travel to different conferences and present some of the workings that we're doing at KBFA. We've also been able to increase our staff personnel to help us better service our members and our farmers. We've done a few other things in terms of outreach to students through our Nicodemus Summer Research Camp, where students actually come in partnership with Kansas State University and the Diversity Programs Office. They're in the College of Ag, but we were able to bring in students to just teach them about agriculture. We taught them about different aspects of agronomy. They went through an actual agronomy and soil sustainability program and project amongst many other things. So we are very happy and very proud to be a recipient of this grant. And we can talk about it from our perspective as KBFA of what we've used these funds for. But can you provide some insight on the purpose of this grant and Cargill's goals with providing this funding?
Yeah, so first off, I think what you just described is what you guys did with the grant. That's what we wanted. It's farmer outreach, it's community outreach, it's teaching children about agriculture. We can't use too much of that right now. We can
Yeah.
always have more of that, and it's great to hear you guys putting it into play. But yeah, that's really what the Success from the Ground Up grant was. This was our first year that we offered it. It was to grassroots organizations to help them better connect with growers in their
Yeah.
communities. So our 2023 recipients, we had 6 different organizations that we awarded $800,000 to total. That was what we had. It was across the Midwest. It was all towards farmer education. We had some differing groups. You just explained what you guys did. Another one that we did was the Indiana Soil and Water Conservation Districts. We awarded a grant to them to where for all those soil and water conservation districts, they've developed cover crop education. And part of that is they're producing these banners that show the below ground growth on a cover crop, which is something
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't see. It's hard to describe, it's hard to grow, but they have these banners now that they're able to take around with they can do their infiltration test, they can do their rainfall simulator, and then show this is what we're helping with that infiltration we talked about earlier. This is the below ground organic matter that we're producing from these root structures. Just things like that. And like I said, we've got other good success stories too from the first year that we've had it. And we plan to continue that too. New grant proposals and that system will open up again here in October for the
Hmm.
23-24 grant season too. So anybody that's interested, we can get them in touch with that and get them an application as well.
Yeah. So let's talk application process for both grants, for Success from the Ground Up, but also your Region Connect program. If we had some farmers that's interested in participating, what are the requirements to participate and how can they take advantage of this program?
Yeah, so for the Success for the Ground Up grant, I do know that one is for nonprofit organizations. That is the big thing there. If you're a nonprofit organization, we're able to apply for that. And like I said, that'll open up in October. For growers that are interested in Region Connect, that one that one's a little more detailed on how we go through some of that.
Yeah.
So when we work with growers, a lot of that is through our grain originators. Our grain originators have that relationship with the growers, but it's by no means you have to have a grain originator from Cargill to do that. But what
Mm.
we look at with Region Connect is we look for growers that are able to make a practice change, that are wanting to make a practice change. So that's all based on what they did in the last cropping year. So right now we're actually open. Region Connect is open for another 7 days for our
Yeah.
2023 enrollment. We'll close the 15th. But what we would look at is the tillage practices, the cover crop practices that took place on field specific level. So we're looking at the fields, but we're looking at practices that took place in the fall of 22 and the spring of 23. And
Yeah.
that sets the ability for what a grower is able to implement for practices. And our list of practices, like I said, is we're looking for growers that want to reduce their tillage. Maybe we're putting away the field cultivator and we're going to a vertical tillage tool. Maybe we're putting away all our tillage equipment and we're going strictly no-till,
Yeah.
which that's not uncommon in Kansas. Somebody argued with me the other day that Kansas wasn't the birthplace of no-till, and I may be wrong there, but I've always considered Kansas being the birthplace of that. But but we know, and if we have growers that do a lot of no-till now, they're already 100% no-till, and they do have the ability to implement a cover crop into their operation as well too, and that's where our agronomy team comes in to help with that, to make sure that what we're doing, fits the grower with what he wants to do, to make sure he's set
Mhm.
up for long-term success. And that's what we want to do. At the end of the day, we want to see the growers succeed. So they pick their practice that they'd want to do. It could be a combo of tillage and cover crops, could just be a cover crop. And our program, after we enter that data, is able to show what the outcome would be, so what their estimated payment would be. So for
Yeah.
2023, we're actually paying $35 a metric ton of carbon sequestered.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is our third year of the program, and we actually increased what we're paying this year by 40%. We were $25 a ton last year, and we're 35 this year. So we're really glad that we have that demand downstream, and we have the input from the growers that are interested in this program to keep building it and increasing that payment. And we look forward to hopefully being able to do that as we continue to build on the program. Um, but yeah, growers enroll, and then we work with them throughout the season as they implement those practices. And then one thing that's really unique to Cargill's Region Connect program is that it is a 1 year contract. So growers that enroll this year will get their first half payment in March of 24, and then they'll get their remainder of that payment at the end of the contract in January of 24, January of 25. So we do pride that we have paid growers. We have completed those contracts already, and we're getting ready to finish our year 2 growers here before too long. We're starting to get to the end of that program.
Oh man, that is awesome. That sounds like an awesome program. Farmers, if you are out there, growers, please make sure you take advantage of that. And you said that application closes on the 15th, correct? September 15th.
Yep. And growers that want to look at that can go to cargillregionconnect.com. That's where you can go and set up an account, and you're able to do it all on your own. You can enter a field and see what it looks like without being tied to any contract or anything. You could see what your payment would be and then decide if it's something that you would want to take part in.
Okay, that works. All right. So before we close, Jared, I'd like to hear your personal thoughts on something. So, from a corporate perspective in the ag industry, what do you think are some things that farmers should be aware of or embrace in the upcoming years?
Yeah, so I think when we look at where I'm at right now with the sustainability side of things, I think what we look at is we're going to see more of these programs. We're going to see more of these offerings. We've we're carbon today on our Region Connect side, but we know that there's other environmental outcomes, environmental improvements that we can incentivize growers for, whether that's water quality improvements, nutrient reduction through different fertilizer application, fertilizer use, fertilizer efficiency reductions. That takes many different looks and appearances on how that could work and how that could be incentivized in the industry. And I think we'll see some of that as we go forward. Another thing that I really think we'll see too, Cargill Region Connect cotton, right now we're paying on the actual bale of cotton that's been produced sustainably. And I expect to see that transition into other commodities when we get into the actual physical soybean bushel, the actual wheat bushel, and being able to incentivize growers and actually pay a premium for those bushels that have been raised sustainably, been raised with a
Yeah.
cover crop or reduced till no till. I think we'll see that in the near future as well.
Oh man, I agree. I agree. And it's good to see that you guys are aware of this, but you also have resources in place that's going to help with addressing some of these things, man. So I want to say, Jared, this has been awesome, man. You have provided some very insightful information, not just on the ag space, not just on sustainability, but also the programs and resources that you have there at Cargill. So first and foremost, I want to give you a round of applause. We're very appreciative here at Kansas Black Farmers Association. As I said, we are proud recipients of your Success from the Ground Up program grant, and we are looking forward to helping our farmers also get connected in that Region Connect program and any other resources that you guys have. So we will surely be reaching out to you guys here pretty soon about that. But before we wrap up, Jared, do you have any departing thoughts?
Like I said, so yeah, first, Lonnie, thank you for having us on. Glad to talk to you and glad to hear what you guys are doing with the grant so far and look forward to hearing more things about it. Um, I guess I'll just leave again. If you have growers that are interested, like I said, our website is cargillregionconnect.com, and they're welcome to get on there and see what they can see for a potential for these practices that they could implement. And honestly, if they reach out, they're probably going to hear from me, being that I cover Kansas. So I guess we'll hopefully have some guys to work with and some things to do here in the future. So
Oh,
thank you for
yeah,
having me
and
again, Lonnie.
that's a good thing, man. Familiar face, familiar voice. So should ease their mind as they're talking to you. But like I said, Jared, man, we really appreciate you joining us today. Unfortunately, Justin couldn't join, but he does send his wishes. He did say thank you personally for joining us and also for providing that grant for us. I am going to do one more plug before we wrap up. So on October 18th and the 19th, that is a Wednesday and a Thursday in October, KBFA will be hosting our annual meeting. The first half of the meeting, which is October 18th, that will be in Lawrence, Kansas. And then on the 19th, we'll be in Manhattan, Kansas at Kansas State University. So for our listeners out there, our members, please be sure to register. You can go to kbfa.org and check out our events, and we have it posted there. But also, please be on the lookout for upcoming podcasts as well as the upcoming resources that we share, both from Cargill, from KBFA, and from some of our other partners in terms of USDA, Rural Coalition, etc. So please be sure to reach out if you need anything. Of course, you can contact us at KBFA at kbfa.org or visit our website at www.kbfa.org. So that's all we have for today, guys. We want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you again to Jared. Awesome job, my friend. And we will see you next time.